Yo,
What's up, folks?
what is going on? It's Danny Boy, Bill Corpus Crispy with you here on a Monday morning and live in living color right here on the Sports Sanity Network's YouTube channel, Sports Sanity Podcast, episode 410. We appreciate you, we love you, and we always thank you for joining us. If you like what you see, you can always subscribe to our channel, like our videos, comment on our videos, listen to this pod wherever you get your podcasts. Unfortunately, though, you're not going to get our last episode on audio form because silly me, of course, this happens once in a while. Silly me forgot to actually record the sound of this pod. So you're not going to get the audio version of it, and we do sincerely apologize for that. I know a lot of you like the audio version because you don't want to see our faces, which is fine. But
Hey, Reg, you're getting detention for this one.
yeah, Bill has already said I'm going into the hole for 24 hours, and you know,
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
it's like Aaron Rodgers' darkness retreat only for.
Yes, you're gonna go into the darkness hole and think about what you've done. He's
uh,
going to the corner, folks.
yes. But I promise you, this episode 410 will be in audio form. So please, um, please forgive me for that. By the way, as we're on the air right now, as we speak, the Washington Commanders and Washington District of Columbia Mayor Muriel Bowser is expected to announce right now that the Commanders will be moving back to the district pending district approval. Obviously, there's a council that it has to go through. Um, but right now they're on the podium and they're expected to announce a deal for the RFK site for Washington Commanders to come back to Washington D.C., which is massive, massive news for Washington and people across the DMV who want them in the district. And I want to be clear about it. They want them back home in the district. They don't want to be in Prince George's County. They don't want to be in Loudoun County. They don't want to be in Alexandria. They want to be in Washington, D.C. And right now, as we're watching this, I really hope one of our football teams, the Jets and the Giants, can get a clue and move back to their rightful homes, New York.
I mean, I would not protest that.
And you know what, Bill? I've always said, you know what, maybe the New York City team should be the Jets. But you know what? The more I think about it, the more I realize, no, 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 we both have to come back to the city. You know, I
We
don't,
do.
we both have to come back to the city. I don't mind having a stadium on Long Island, you know, like that right by the border, sort of like what the Islanders are doing, right? Or border of Queens and Long Island, or having a stadium in Flushing. You know, y'all can have a stadium somewhere, maybe Bronx. I know they were trying to build a soccer stadium in the Bronx. You can go on the west side, wherever it is.
West
Find
Side.
Find a place in New York City where both the Jets and the Giants can come back to. Break whatever lease you'll have in the Meadowlands. The Meadowlands is trash anyway. No one cares about those places.
Yeah, and
You know?
I've been saying this for years. MetLife's a dump.
It is terrible. We need our
It's a
own home
shithole. It's
in
an
New York.
absolute shithole.
You know, so congratulations to the Washington Commanders. They're about to announce the deal. I'm very happy for them. Obviously, it'll, like I said, it's going to go through district approval. We most certainly hope the district approves it. But um, the Jets and Giants have to follow suit. Okay? Let's stop playing around and follow suit. In any case, I just wanted to make that point that that is breaking news happening right now as we speak. Mayor Muriel Bowser of Washington, D.C., and the Commanders. Josh Harris is there. Roger Goodell is there. It's a serious deal. This is serious. This is happening right now. So, as we're talking about football, how did you feel about the draft, Bill?
I think the Giants drafted very well.
Okay.
I think we got our defensive spark in Abdul Carter. We talked about that on Friday. Also, that we talked about on Friday, we got our potential franchise quarterback with Jackson Dart.
Yeah.
And we said this on Friday. Um, Brian Dable now has his guy to mold because what Daniel Jones was a leftover from the Shermer, Judge, Gettleman era.
Right.
And now Brian Dable has his guy to mold to be his quarterback.
Yeah.
Because I think one of the problems with Daniel Jones, agree or disagree, was I think there was just too much instability.
Yeah, I mean, I 100% agree. I think the
Because
Giants have
you went from
uh,
Shermer to Judge to Dable.
yeah.
They're like the Giants were basically like the divorced mom that brings home a new boyfriend every 5 minutes.
Yeah. I think the Giants they did a great job because one, they got their big time defensive tackle guy, right? Defensive lineman.
With Abdul Carter.
And they assured that position. But then they took a chance on Jackson Dart. Now, Jackson Dart may not be the flashiest, but that doesn't mean you can't mold him. He's going to take a couple years under Russell Wilson or under Jameis Winston, wherever direction the Giants go. Probably the Russell Wilson route, right? That's what the plan is. He has a chance to actually sit and learn. This is something that, in my opinion, the Jets can do. And I'll talk about the Jets in a second. Um, but the Giants are doing it the right way. They're bringing in someone that is a project in Jackson Dart. He's going to be a project. But if everything goes as planned, he could be the next franchise and hopefully the next franchise for the next 10, 15 years, which is what you want. You don't want to be have a revolving door of quarterbacks. Now, luckily for the New York Giants, they haven't really had a massive revolving door of quarterbacks because of they've had, but not as bad as other teams. They were actually more consistent than you think. Daniel Jones, was a constant. Like, if it wasn't for obviously his injuries and bad play, you know, he would have been the quarterback. So it wasn't like they had a massive revolving door, like the Jets. The Jets always had a new starting quarterback year after year after year. The Giants didn't really have that. So it wasn't as crazy as many other teams, but the bad quarterback play showed.
No, I can agree with you on that. And but going into the other like I said, you now the Giants have someone to the Giants now have with the quarterback situation. Now Brian Dable can mold his franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
And Jackson Dart, God willing, will hopefully have some more stability than Daniel Jones did when he came to coaching.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens with that. Other picks, we made a change to we got another the defensive lineman with Darius Alexander from Toledo.
Hmm.
We got a new running back, Cam Skattebo from Arizona State.
Right.
Another fix on the O line. We got Marcus Elmbo from the University of Purdue. And we got tight end Thomas from the University of Nebraska and Corey Black from Oklahoma State. Now, when it comes to the tight end, we that's good because we got whether it's going to be Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, or Jackson Dart. They now have another weapon to complement Malik Neighbors. I think we're going to have some. I think right now the Giants actually did a very good draft. I think they did a very good job.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I think the Giants addressed their needs, and ultimately they didn't shy away from making the necessary moves, right? To get what they wanted. So yeah, it was a good draft for the Giants, and um, I think it buys Shane and Dable at least 2 years because you got to be honest. We don't know when Jackson Dart's gonna be ready, right? So it's gonna be a little unfair if they're in the middle of this new process with a new quarterback and you fire them after 6 games or a year. Like that's not fair. This buys them at least 2 years, right? You know, you you obviously want to have him sit, do whatever clipboard, do whatever what it is in practice and stuff, learn from veterans, and then eventually go out there and start winning you games. Now, I will say this. I don't know if Brian Dable or Joe Shane is going to be running this team when Jackson Dart is actually going to, you know, flourish and do well. I don't know if that's going to be the case, but at the very least, you owe them a chance to at least develop it, right?
Because we said on draft night that Dable and Shane have bought themselves 2 years.
Yeah.
And I agree. But I think at this point, you can't argue that you can't argue that Shane and Dable's heads are not on the chopping block, though.
Yeah.
They still are.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay, let's give Jackson Dart some time to learn, give him the clipboard for a bit, let him learn under Russell Wilson or Jameis Winston or whoever,
Yeah.
give them time. But Reg, at the same time, I think they need to start Jackson Dart sooner rather than later.
But you also don't want to rush the kid because you gotta make sure he's ready. This is a big deal. Like this is New York City. This is, one of the this is the NFL, one of the NFL's flagship franchises, right?
Yes.
And you have to make sure that when you put this guy in a massive situation where he's running the quarterback of a major football team across all of American sports, that he's not going to falter. The second he crumbles, man, it's going to be a nightmare. Now, look, of course, development doesn't come without mistakes and, figuring out how to fix your flaws, but you don't want him to crumble to a point where his mindset is going to ultimately be shattered. You don't want that.
And no, and just on a personal note, not on an athletic note, but on a personal note, just bear with me here. Jackson Dart is from Utah, and Jackson Dart, and listen, I'm not bringing religion into this, but Jackson Dart's a Mormon.
I don't care about that.
So,
That that
no,
that's
no,
that.
hear me out, hear me out, hear
Okay.
me out. Jack, if anyone knows anything about the Mormon faith, they're usually pretty sheltered. So, coming into New York City, that's going to be a giant shock to the system. Well, to be fair, he was at USC and then Ole Miss, so his system's probably already been shocked. But like this kid, you don't want to rush him. You don't want to rush him physically or mentally.
Yeah.
So you got to see where this guy is at. Like this could be a big shock to his system.
Yeah, the big thing that you don't want is you don't want to rush him and you don't want to make him feel like he can't do this because he is good enough for the NFL. He was drafted for a reason and people were all over his ass, right? So don't rush him. Make sure he's actually ready for the moment. And then you can go ahead and hopefully he'll be the franchise for 15 years. And that's what you want. You don't want him to be the franchise for 2 years. You want to be the franchise for 15 years. So that
You
was the
want him to
Giants
be
draft.
the
Go ahead, Bill. I'm sorry.
you want him to be the because a lot of people are making the comparison to another Ole Miss QB who became a Giants QB. And listen, I see the comparison you guys are making, but at the same time, let Jackson Dart be Jackson Dart.
Yeah.
Don't try to mold him into Eli Manning 2.0.
But it's not about being Eli Manning 2.0. It's about being Jackson Dart.
Exactly. Exactly.
So that's the Giants draft.
And
I thought the Giants did well. They
yeah,
did
the
well.
other additions, like I said, we're getting some changes on the O line, which is good
Mhm.
because our O line's been terrible for 10 years.
Yeah.
So
Pretty
yeah,
much since the Super Bowl.
yeah, our O line's been garbage.
And look, I know the Giants have made the playoffs since that Super Bowl, but let's be real about it. Like they have not been great.
They
And
haven't.
and
The O line is shit.
yeah.
Okay, so we got some changes in the O line, which is good. I like changes in the O line. We got some changes in the D line. We got some more weapons. So you know what? I am actually gonna give Joe Shane credit for something.
Good.
Well
And
done.
and as you should. Look, you know, obviously
In
nobody
7 months, I might feel differently, but well done, Joe
nobody
Shane.
exactly. Nobody wants any GM or head coach to fail. They want to win. I can tell in Bill's face. He wants to win. He's
I want to
tired of
win.
losing, you know?
I'm tired of this bullshit, bro.
Yeah.
I want to win. I want a freaking another ring, buddy. I want another ring.
Well, yeah, and you deserve it. So,
Not
thanks,
that
man.
you deserve it more, Reg. You've been suffering for a long time.
Yeah, but I mean, let's see. Jets draft. I'll say this about the Jets draft. On draft night, as you saw in my face, I wasn't not that I wasn't thrilled with the pick because the Jets actually addressed the need. They addressed the need at right tackle. I'm totally fine with that. I just felt that the tight end position was way more of not necessarily a need, but certainly something that could have bolstered this franchise and the the game that they were going to um implement. With that said, Armand Membo is the number one pick for the Jets. And then they went in the second round and drafted a tight end in Mason Taylor, Jason Taylor's son. Jason Taylor, obviously longtime Dolphin, one-time Jet. Um, and he actually did. And look, I watched his highlights. I don't know much about Mason Taylor. I think Bill may know more about him than I do. But what I will say is, I think he's a tough son of a gun. And you know, I hope that the with the offense run by Tanner Angstrand, I really hope that he really um, puts a program in place where he can show that toughness. And with Justin Fields as quarterback, there's going to be a lot of running, not much of a passing game. So I hope that it works out. And you know, it'd be great to see what he can do. So. Um, but so yeah, no, look, they addressed the needs on offense. They addressed the tight end. They addressed the right tackle. And we just hope that this is a massive wall that they have built for years to come. And that's all you want. That's all you want. It's a massive wall for the quarterback. For a quarterback that's gonna really need it. So Mason Taylor is a day two pick along with Azari Thomas. Azari Thomas um, he comes out was it Florida State? He's a cornerback. And then round four at 110 they picked Arian Smith. 130 they picked Malachi Moore and all the other draft picks. And then in the undrafted side, they did not pick quarterback Bill while drafting, but they picked a undrafted free agent. They signed one out of Missouri, Brady Cook. And I watched some of his highlights. I think he's pretty good. I know he's a pretty tough guy. My brother who covers him in St. Louis has said that he is a pretty darn good player. So all I'll say to that is I don't know if he's going to be the future of the franchise, but if the Jets can groom him, fine. I'm cool with it. But of course, undrafted QBs, like I don't know, you don't know what you're gonna get at. So a lot of the you're muted. A lot of them don't last long.
They're undrafted for a reason sometimes.
Yeah.
So yeah, you think the Jets did a pretty decent job?
Yeah, I think I felt a lot better when they drafted Mason Taylor. Because look, they had draft tight end, right? So I'm glad that they drafted him. I wish it were Ty Warren. I'll be real with you, but at the same time, the Jets didn't have another draft pick in the first round, so obviously there weren't going to be great tackles left. So I understand why they did what they did. And look, they got some really good players here. So I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it as long as at the end of the day, what it comes down to is coaching for the Jets. You know, the Jets have not had a good coach. Let's be real, since Rex Ryan.
I can agree.
So, with that said, I hope that Aaron Glenn, so far, he's done very well. Um, Now he has to exceed my expectations in terms of the season. Um, but I really hope that Aaron Glenn, his coaching staff, could really take this team to new heights. And that's all you could really wish for. So, let's
So
see.
yeah, Jets had a good Jets had a good draft. Giants had a good draft.
Yeah, I think out of the two drafts, I think the Giants were better.
Thank you.
And because well, only because they not only get Abdul Carter, who is solid, they get Jackson Dart in the first round, who's also a good, solid quarterback. So um, I hope it works. All I can say is I hope it works out.
So yeah, that is the NFL draft for both New York teams.
Yeah,
But there was another person who was a the talk of the draft,
yeah.
and you know who that was, and he didn't slip, and he slipped to like the fifth round, and that was Shador Sanders. Bro, welcome to Cleveland. It took you a whole night to take oh God, it took him to the fifth round.
You know what's so frustrating about it was the massive amount of hate that Chador has gotten. And look, he free falled. A lot of teams were unimpressed with his draft process. He didn't really show up to any practices. I don't think he was there at the combine. His meetings with teams didn't go very well. I know Brian Dable, your coach, I called him out in a meeting saying how unprepared he was. And based on everything that the NFL teams were saying, all of a sudden Shador has just got all this massive amount of negative reviews and thoughts and hate, and I thought it was just incredibly outrageous. I
And
thought I thought it was a bit much. Um,
now, you know what drove me crazy about Shador Sanders though this week?
what
Mel Kiper.
from
My God,
from ESPN, Mel Kiper?
yeah, Mel Kiper. That's how you say his name. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mel Kiper drove me crazy this week.
Mhm.
He was basically a Shador simp the whole week. Why isn't he drafted yet? Why isn't he drafted yet? Why isn't he drafted in the first round? I'm like, listen, Mel Kiper is one to talk. The guy is basically a professional wrong person.
Yeah, I mean he's gotten some right. He's not
No,
totally
his
wrong.
track record going back at least 10, going back 11 years. Johnny Manziel should be the first overall pick. How well did that go, Mal? Lamar Jackson should switch to wide receiver. Shut up, Mal. Blaine Gabbert is going to be better than Cam Newton. And Jimmy Clausen is going to be a star. Shut up, Mal. No one wants to hear you talk.
But what if he's right about Shador?
If he's right about Shador, I'll admit he's right about Shador. But
I don't know.
everything, all he did was whine about Shador not getting picked.
Well, I mean, it wasn't just him. I mean, Robert Griffin, RG3, he also complained as well, all over the place.
I think Stephen A did too, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I think the reason is because he was projected first round and he free fall to the fifth round.
Oh, and
Um,
listen, I've been saying
and it
that. If
was
you ask
bad. Like it was
me,
a bad free fall. Like I'm wondering what obviously, like I said, there's a lot of negative reviews about him. But what was it truly? Like, how did it get so bad for Shador Sanders that he fell as far as he did? Like, it couldn't, there's just no way, based on what we saw in Colorado, based on what we saw, um, any film going up to the draft, like, there's just, and all the confidence that he showed, he poured out a lot of confidence, right? There's just no way that any pre-draft meetings or whatever was so bad that he free fall to the fifth round. Like there's just no way. Like something there has to be something else to it. I know I was listening to Joe Beningo over the weekend and he hilariously claims that it's because of Deion Sanders.
no, I think that that could be one of the reasons.
I mean, it could be, but come on, like it's not like his dad's gonna control the narrative. Like he has his own team to worry about. Like he just re-upped in Colorado, you know?
I would know how he had been talking a big game before the draft. I'm like thinking, Dion, shut up.
Well, that's his son. Let him talk it up. It doesn't mean anything. He look, he didn't meddle in the process. You know, a lot of people thought he was gonna meddle in the process, but
And
that
like,
clearly
listen,
wasn't the case.
we talked about this on Friday. What a big fall he took. Like,
Yeah.
if you asked like 2 months ago, some said he was going to go number one, and then that he was going to go either number one or number two. And then, like, even I thought that. And then, just over the past couple weeks, though, he went from potential one or two to top 10. Then he went from top 10 to top that he was going to be barely top 20. So he literally just free falled.
Yeah.
And
And it was it was a free fall to the ground, like straight to the ground, like bad.
like, I didn't think he was going to, like, if you would have, again, you would have asked me 2 months ago, I would have said he would have been in the top five. But,
Yeah.
and then after Thursday night, even I was in shock that he didn't go in the first round. I was shocked that he didn't go in the second or third round. That it took to the fifth round for him to get there, that was nuts. And okay, Dion may not have interfered in the process, but you know who did?
Oh.
Okay, I think everybody knows what we're talking about by now, don't we? There was the prank call from we'll get into who it was in a second, that somebody called Shador Sanders impersonating to be an NFL team. Let's, in the words of the great Warner Wolf, let's go to the videotape.
The GM of the New Orleans Saints. How you doing? This is Mickey Loomis here, GM of the Saints.
How you doing?
Good. How are you, man?
Good. Been waiting on you.
Yeah, we have. It's been a long wait, man. We're gonna take you with our next pick right here, man.
This ain't gonna be nothing to do.
Yeah, but you're gonna have to wait a little bit longer, man. Sorry about that.
Oh my God! He's body! He's body!
This is Mickey Loomis here.
Bro.
Ooh. Um, yeah, that happened. That happened, and obviously it caused a massive frenzy online. Like, obviously, there's people that were very supportive of the joke because, well, let's be honest, a lot of people didn't want Shedeur Sanders to get drafted. Let's be real. Um, but but then of course there's people like you and me, Bill, who look at this and it's just like, what are you doing? Like, what are you getting out of this?
Like, I'll be honest, at first, when I saw this, I'm not gonna lie to you, Reg, I got a good chuckle out of it.
Of course, right.
But
But
then as soon as I heard, then I was thinking, wait a minute, how did they get his number?
right,
And
that
then,
and like why are you messing with his mind? Like this is a big day for a lot of these football players that work their ass off, whether it's from Pop Warner to college to the pros, like these people actually care about the game. And for someone, you know, some young idiot to just, do a prank call and mess with his mind like that. Like it just wasn't it was in poor taste and just ugly. It's ugly. But I can understand why people would laugh at that. And I don't blame you, Bill. Like I get it. Like, we have to laugh. We're human beings. Things need to be funny. But there's also a time and place for it. And that was not the time and place to do that.
I can agree with you.
Yeah. So, and then of course we find out later that the person behind the prank was uh Jeff Ulbricht's son. Was it Jax Ulbricht or whatever? Um Jeff Ulbrich, obviously, as Jets fans, we know him. He was the former defensive coordinator, interim head coach.
And
Um,
now he's the Falcons defensive
he, he's
coordinator.
now he's now in the same position with the Atlanta Falcons, um, a team that he just returned to, by the way. And of course, the Falcons they actually released a statement. If I could find that real quick. Uh,
Yes, go right ahead.
but yeah, just poor taste. Just real poor taste. Here it is, the Falcon statement. Um, from Adam Schefter's page. It says earlier in the week, Jax Ulbrich, I got that right. Hell yeah. The 21-year-old son of defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbrich unintentionally came across the draft contact phone number for Shador Sanders off an open iPad while visiting his parents' home. Wrote the number down, later conducted a prank. Jeff Ulbrich was unaware of the data exposure or any facets of the prank and was made aware only after the fact. The Atlanta Falcons do not condone the behavior. Send their sincere apologies to George Sanders and his family, who we have been in contact to apologize to, as well as facilitate an apology directly from Jackson to the Sanders family. We have also been in contact with the NFL to and will continue to fully cooperate with any inquiries we may receive. We are thoroughly reviewing all protocols and updating if necessary to help prevent an incident like that happening again. Um, uh, Jax also apologized on Instagram. It's on his Instagram page.
Yeah, I was actually about to read it.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. You can pull it up.
It says right here, on Friday night I made a tremendous mistake. Sorry, I'm just trying to move this thing. Should
I got this. Shador,
No, Shador, what I did was completely inexcusable, embarrassing, and shameful. I'm so sorry I took away from your moment. It was selfish and childish. I could never imagine getting ready to celebrate one of the greatest moments of your life, and I made a terrible mistake and messed with that moment. Thank you for accepting my call earlier today, and I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me.
uh,
Apparently, Dad called Shador Sanders that morning
yeah.
and apologized. And apparently, I heard Shador just said, "Hey, you know what? It was childish, but we all do stupid things. So you know
Yeah,
what? At least Shador."
and Shador, like he's being a good sport about it. He's in good spirits, obviously. Like he's handled his draft process very well. Um, uh, I have to say this about Jeff Ulbrich. I have bone pick with you. You know, you need to be careful with um your information that you have on your team stuff. Like a lot of your work things have to be private, my man. Like you can't leave stuff out, especially personal people's phone numbers, to so that other people can have access to that. And if I'm being real with you, I think the Falcons are getting a massive slap on the wrist and maybe an insomnia cookie. Like that's my opinion.
Do you think Jeff Ulbrich should be fired?
I don't think he should be fired. There should be punishment for him. I also think the Falcons need to be fined. Like, there's just no way that you could allow. And look, they're probably not going to do anything because the Falcons are fully cooperating with the NFL. So, they're probably nothing's probably going to happen. But I can't imagine if this were the Jets. Let's be real about this. This is a tale of two teams here.
Yeah.
If he was still on the Jets, Jeff Ulbrich, don't tell me that this wouldn't have been a massive media frenzy.
No, I guarantee you Jeff Ulbrich would have some
Oh,
type of punishment.
are you out of your
Jets would be
mind?
fined. They'd be losing their draft pick. They'd be losing draft picks for next
The-
year.
there's no way the Jets would have gotten the same treatment as what the Falcons are getting, right? You know, I think the Falcons are getting away with murder. So just throwing some thoughts out there.
Yeah, Jeff, you put your iPad in a safe place.
Yeah,
If you have people's personal info on there, put it in a
keep that
place
shit at
where no one can
work,
see
my
it.
man. Keep that shit at work.
Yeah, bro, keep it at work.
Like, what you doing? Anyway,
And you know what? I'm gonna say this. Did you know that they were also, you know, who also was a suspect in all this?
what?
Joe Shane's daughter.
Oh my
Because
God.
because the gentleman in the shirt was wearing an Ole Miss shirt.
Right.
and Joe Shane's daughter goes to Ole Miss.
But
And
was she involved in it though?
well, at first I was thinking when they were saying, "Oh, it could have been Jeff Ulbricht's son, it could have been Joe Shane's daughter." At first I was thinking if Joe Shane's daughter is listening to this, I apologize. I was actually thinking it was her because I'm thinking it would make sense. I'm like thinking, okay, he's wearing an Ole Miss shirt because here's what I was thinking with Jeff Ulbrich. I'm thinking, do the coordinators have access to the draft numbers? Or is it just the GM and the head coach and the owner?
Yeah.
Like, do they have access to the numbers, or is it just the owner, the GM, and the head coach? And 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 then I was thinking like it would make more sense because I think Joe Shane would have probably more access than Jeff Ulbrich. And I'm thinking, okay, the guy's wearing an Ole Miss shirt, but she's not in there. I'm like thinking, okay, is that maybe like her boyfriend or maybe a friend of hers? And I'm thinking it's probably Joe Shane's daughter. But then when I heard it was Jeff Ulbricht's son, I'm like, huh. And he's in the video. He's not the one making the call. He's the one he's the other guy at the end. So you know what it is? Should they take this seriously? Yes. But at the end of the day, and let's listen, this should be taken seriously. I think, Jeff, I think you need to punish your son here.
Well, here's my thing. Look, I don't look, obviously, you know, everyone in this situation needs to be held accountable, right?
No, everybody.
Jeff Elberg needs to be held accountable. The Falcons need to be held accountable. Obviously, his son Jax definitely needs to be held accountable. I don't know in what way. Um, I think the public scrutiny, but there's a lack of public scrutiny. I think there needs to be more. Like, why? Why are we just putting a handcuff on him and then letting him go? I'm writing an
Who, Jax
apology
or
and that's
Jeff?
it. Like, that's not enough. There should be more scrutiny.
But you know, everyone's saying, well, Jax Ulbrich apologized to Shador
No,
Sanders,
no,
so
no,
no, I'm
no.
sorry. Sometimes saying sorry doesn't make everything better.
Like, you're lucky. I think the Ulbrichts and the Falcons are very lucky that Shador Sanders is being a good sport about this. He's very lucky. If it were me, if that were my son being pranked, like I would, I would,
Oh, there would probably be
all
lawsuits,
hell
they'd
is
be
breaking
pressing
loose.
charges.
You know, I mean, I don't know if I'll go that far, but I don't know. Maybe I would press charges. I don't know. I wouldn't be too happy about it.
You could press harassment charges.
Sure.
But like, here's the thing, and it's like because I watched some of it on ESPN last night. It goes, well, Shador, well, Jax did say he was sorry. I'm like, no, no, no. He's not a 5-year old who took a cookie from the cookie jar. He's not a 5-year old who took a cookie from the cookie jar.
I don't want to hear harmless prank anymore. It's
Like
not harmless prank.
he's not like listen. The media is treating him like he's a 5-year old who took a cookie from the cookie jar. No, Jax is a is a grown ass man. He's a grown ass man. He's 21, and the media needs to hold him accountable. And like you said, him, Jeff, and the Falcons organization should be on their knees, kissing Shador's feet, thanking him that he's not going to press charges or anything.
Yeah.
Like they're lucky Shador's being a good sport. But
And being very and showing a lot of class, showing a lot
and
of
you know
class,
what?
and
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 that's
being
really
as understanding as he is.
and you want to know something? I don't usually like to be. I'm 31 years old. I don't like to be the one that go kids today. Get off my lawn. I don't like to be that guy. But my God, these kids, they could have, if Shador wasn't so nice. Him and the Sanders family could have pressed charges with them. You did all this, you risked pressing charges, and you could have potentially risked your father's job just to get a few quick likes on YouTube.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think Jeff Ulbrich would have been responsible for his job because he's the one that left the iPad open in the first place. You know?
You could have potentially your father's job. Your father could have lost his damn job.
But like I said, Jeff Ulbrich is part of the problem. He needs to be held responsible too because it came out of his work iPad.
Leave your work iPad at work, buddy.
Oh boy.
But yeah, but this is just stupid.
Yeah.
But again, good on Shador Sanders that he's taking this with class.
Yeah. And again, congratulations to Shador. The Browns, this is not a joke. They took him, so and I hope he kills it, shows all the haters wrong.
But yeah, so yeah, that's the NFL draft. It was an interesting draft.
It was an interesting draft. It was a lot of great players taken, a lot of needs addressed, and you know, I really hope this becomes a really good draft for all teams. That's all I could say.
Yeah. All right, moving from the gridiron to the hardwood. Some NBA playoffs yesterday.
Yeah. It was a good Sunday for the Knicks. Almost heartbreaking Sunday for the Knicks, though. I will say that it was, the part that I hated the most about Sunday in Detroit was the fact that the Knicks had this massive 16-point lead. They could have ran away with this game, but yet Detroit adjusted. They did a 23-point swing in the end of the second quarter throughout the whole third quarter. And you're thinking to yourself, oh man, the Knicks, they're going to blow another one. Like they had a big lead. The Pistons, they're being very physical. By the way, the refs, as much as the refs had a really bad day yesterday in terms of not calling fouls and everything. I will say this about the refs. Their calls were pretty consistent across the board. Like they were letting both the Knicks and Pistons play. So they're letting a lot of things go. I will say that. But man, yeah, you would have thought massive third quarter from Cade Cunningham. Tobias Harris, he was out for most of that fourth quarter because he was in massive foul trouble. He had 5 fouls, but he's the one that sparked the Pistons' massive runs. Like you would have thought that this was going to be another letdown for the Knicks. Not so fast because Karl Anthony Towns and big money, big boy Jalen Brunson comes through in just dramatic fashion. Jalen Brunson, by the way, he came off the court for a while because he had hurt his ankle, but did something. I don't know what he did. I don't know what drugs he took, but he came back and led the Knicks. I believe both Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson combined for like 24 points and outscored the Pistons themselves in the fourth quarter. To lead them to victory. Karl Anthony Towns, 2 massive buckets at the end of the game, 1 floater as he was going out of bounds, and he dunks it in, and then a 3-pointer with about 37 seconds or so to go in the game, and then the no scoring after that. The Knicks were able to get stops, and defense prevailed. Like I said at the end of the game, Bill, you had Tim Hardaway Jr., who was clearly fouled, but no call, right? Why? Because the refs let everything go. obviously the Pistons were pissed off about that, but there's not much you can do because everything was called consistently. So, um, and of course, you get your pool report afterwards, but I don't care about pool reports. Knicks won. I'm happy about it. They take a commanding 3-1 series lead, and they head back to the Garden Tuesday to hopefully close it out. Final stat lines: Brunson 32, Karl-Anthony Towns 27, Josh Hart a great 14 points. And then of course the on the Pistons side of things, Kate Cunningham led the way with 25. Tobias Harris had a nice 18, 14 points for Tim Hardaway Jr. Mikal Bridges also had 8 points. Most of those points coming in the fourth quarter. Bill, we gotta close.
Yeah.
We gotta close it out, baby.
Oh, we got to close this out.
Close this bad boy out at the Garden, and let's move on to Boston because I was telling Olofsky this. Nothing would make me more giddy than to make the Celtics sweat. Nothing would make me more happy than that.
You think so?
Bro, I know so. I want this. Like, look,
You want it?
I don't think the Knicks are going to beat the Celtics if they move past the series. We have to end the series first. If the Knicks move on and face the Celtics, I don't know if they're going to win. Probably not. My guess is no. But no,
Never know.
I want them to go 7. Like, I want them to go the distance with the Celtics team. I want them to steal a game in Boston and take it back to the Garden. Like
The real Garden.
come on now. Do you feel me on that? Like, I
Oh,
want
I feel
this
ya.
challenge so bad. Look, the Knicks don't have to win a championship this year. I'm okay with that. But one thing I will not do is I will not accept a sweep from the Celtics. I will not accept that. I want to sweep them, and I want to run them out of town. And I want all the Boston fans to shut up. I would love nothing more. Yeah. I want this, baby. Well, let's get past the Pistons first. The Pistons are a good team. The one thing I learned about the Pistons, look, they may be down right now, but they are tough sons of bitches. I'm telling you right now, they are a physical team. Um, they they have great shooters. They're young and spunky. Man, I gotta give credit. I'm tipping my cap over to Detroit. They are a really good team. Like I said, regular season, they beat us 3 out of 4 times. I tip my cap to them. They're a good team. This series is not over. Okay, I am not gonna just be like, oh, Knicks in 5 for sure. No, no, no. First of all, let's win the series. And I want to close out the Garden. Knicks haven't closed out in Garden in years. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's end it. It ends tomorrow night.
Oh God. How about the Timberwolves taking a commanding lead of their own, 3-1 over the Lakers? Oh God. I
LeBron
mean,
is 1 game away from getting eliminated.
how disastrous is that going to be for the Lakers? LeBron had a nice day. He had a double-double, 27 points and 12 rebounds. But it's Anthony Edwards of this Timberwolves team that he had 43 points, and then of course a great defensive stand at the end of the game. He's tremendous. He's the tremendous leader, and all around this T Wolves team, don't play with them. Do not play around with them. Besides Anthony Edwards, Julius Randle, our old friend, he had 25 points of his own. On the Lakers side of things, Rui Hachimura had 23. Isaac LeBron at 27. Luka Doncic led the way with 38. Austin Reeves at 17. And but like I said, Anthony Edwards is the real deal. Like, he is unbelievable. Um, Boston's also 1 win away after their win over the Magic, 107-98. And then the Pacers beat the Bucks 129-103. Damian Lillard went down with an injury, so that's going to be
Ooh, I
massive.
saw that.
That's going to be massive. It was a blowout, by the way, for the Pacers. That is a massive loss for Milwaukee if they can't get him back in this series. Um, Games tonight to watch. You have the Cavaliers. They're facing the Heat. Cleveland, 3-0 series lead. That series is probably going to be over tonight. Well, let's see if the Heat can at least salvage one game. And then, of course, you have the Houston Rockets and Golden State Warriors. Golden State took the lead on Saturday night. Um, and it's a 2-1 series lead right now. Um, uh, Houston's still in it, but I mean, I'm telling you, the Golden State, that they have the home advantage and they're taking full advantage of it. So, um,
So yeah, NBA playoffs heating up. Knicks tomorrow night. LeBron is 1 game away from being eliminated. Wow.
incredible
These are
stuff.
exciting playoffs there, my friend.
I'm excited too. Let's go. Let's get it. And
Let's end it. Let's end it tomorrow night
yeah,
at the
brother.
Garden.
Yankees ultimately had a good weekend. I know most of their two had a doubleheader yesterday. So,
Yes.
they won both games against the Blue Jays. Um, and then the Mets they have a away game against the Nationals. They end their 4-game set. Um, I will say this about Washington. The fact that they're able to beat the Mets twice in this series, pretty good. That's pretty good. Mostly because the Mets falter at the end. Like both of the Nationals wins this series have been because the Mets couldn't keep a lead. So um that you just have to respect the Nationals for getting to the Mets bullpen. So uh,
Wow, the Nats just came back against the Mets yesterday.
yeah,
I'm sure Pac-Man and Olapsky are talking about it very civilly right now.
battling it out. Like, yeah. Shout out to the Detroit Tigers. They're 18-10. Um,
Yeah.
at the top of the AL Central. I think they're at the top of the American League too. Um, and they completely destroyed the Orioles 7-0. Um, Tarek Skubal 3-2 on the season now. He gets another big time win. So yeah, no, I just wanted to give those shout outs.
That I had Scooble for. We have this thing that we do here. We pick a batter, a pitcher, and a starter and a relief pitcher every week. And I had Scooble this week. So it looks like I made a good choice.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So yeah, anyway, with baseball, a serious topic we need to talk about right now. The Jaron Durant thing.
How horrible is this, Bill? Go ahead.
Okay, for those of you who don't know what happened yesterday at the Red Sox Guardians game, a fan made some had some inappropriate things to say to Jaron Duran. And listen, for those of you who haven't seen the the clubhouse on Netflix with the Red Sox, there was a Jaron Duran had admitted that in 2022 he attempted to take his own life.
Mm-hmm.
And that fan must have said something. They didn't say what the fan said, but it was comments about that, and the fan was removed. And oh my God, that's terrible. That is terrible.
Yeah,
And
I'm I'm very disappointed in baseball fans, you know, because, you know, for someone to just go out and attack someone that has really severe mental health issues, and he does, for someone that has contemplated to take his life, for any fan, let alone fans of the opposing team, for him to just go out there and just say such a nasty thing is disgraceful and doesn't belong in baseball. It doesn't belong in sports, but
No,
definitely
it's
doesn't belong in.
absolutely. And listen, I've been critical of Jaron Duran like last year when he made that homophobic slur.
Right.
Um, and like, listen, we talked about that on the show. He and I criticized him. We criticized him for that, and he deserved to be criticized for that.
Yeah.
But you don't take people's like, listen, that is raw emotional stuff that you're talking about this on a Netflix series that you would consider in taking your own life. Like, that is horrible.
Yeah.
And you had someone there who's making fun of you for that? That's gross. That is absolutely gross. And like, listen, that is not something to kid around about. That is not something to joke about. I've said this on the show before. I lost a good friend of mine to suicide.
Yeah.
I've lost a very good friend of mine to suicide. And and that, my friends, is just oh,
It doesn't belong. That's not
doesn't. This person
like
should be banned.
you can root either for or against teams, right? That's how us fans operate. We root for and against other teams, right? You know, but there's a way to do it that's not disrespectful and just plain stupid. You know, like that way was just not a nice way to do it. Um, and it what it does is that it completely, how should I say this? I don't want to say without being a narcissist, um, so to speak. But attacking people's mental health issues is such a lame, disgusting thing.
It is.
You know, I had another thing to say, but I didn't want to come off as a narcissist. You know, but
No, go right ahead. It's okay.
I'm not gonna say it. Like I think it's a little too far. But now that I think about it, but it doesn't belong. It doesn't belong in sports. It's not okay. I don't care what anyone says. These are people with severe mental health issues. These are human beings, Bill. Like we
Oh,
can't
absolutely.
gotta remember, like people have real human emotions, and it's not okay to mess with their emotions. You know,
Oh, absolutely.
I'll leave it at that. It
It's
just
absolutely terrible.
a horrible, horrible, horrible display of fandom. And look, I'm not gonna ask for a ban. I'm not gonna ask for that. Just if you're a sports fan, understand that these people are in the public eye. Everybody's watching them. Like, have some respect for human emotions, you know?
And listen, my thing is, it's listen. You want to go boo players, fine, but don't yell about things like this.
Yeah.
And there are some people who would say, well, maybe maybe Duran Duran shouldn't have shared that on Netflix. That's up to him, not you. That's up to him.
He can share what he wants. I don't care. You know. Look,
And like,
it's bad enough that he's in the public eye and will get scrutinized for the way, or I shouldn't say scrutinized, gets criticized for the way he plays, right? Whether he plays good or plays bad, right? He's gonna get critiqued. You know, it's bad. That's bad enough. Like, don't add to that pressure and stress, and be a human being. That's all I have to say. Horrible. Horrible. Doesn't
yeah,
belong. Doesn't belong.
that is terrible.
Yeah.
That is absolutely horrible. Let's try to end on a lighter note, shall we? We want to congratulate Eugenio Suarez,
hmm
who on Saturday hit 4 for the Diamondbacks, who hit 4 home runs in one game.
This is great. Eugenio Suarez, who is let's be real, early candidate for MVP, the way he's playing. It's just absolutely tremendous. Obviously, Aaron Judge on the AL side, but on the National League side, definitely Eugenio Suarez. Tremendous. The way I see Gino play, ever since I started watching him play, for all these teams that he's played for, all these teams that keep passing up on him, I see Gino Suarez play, and I'm like, this guy's amazing. Like, why is this guy? This is like the best kept thing that Diamondbacks have, and they're committed to him.
Oh, absolutely.
Becomes the 19th player in Major League history to hit 4 home runs in a game. Who was the last to get? It was recent. Who was the last to do it?
Let me look it up.
Let's see. 4 home runs in a game. Um,
The last one was JD Martinez.
JD Martinez, yes.
For the Dodgers on September 4th, 2017. So
Long
it's been
time
a
ago.
while since Auburn.
Long
It's
time
been a while.
Yeah.
So yeah, he is the 19th player to do so.
Yeah. So Eugenio Suarez. Tremendous. I love Gino. Love Gino. He's gonna be a big time player one of these days. I could definitely see him as like I don't know if he'll get Shohei level money, but he's gonna get his payday one of these days.
Pay him, pay him, pay him.
Right now, the
pay
Diamondbacks
him.
they got some real tough sons of bitches on that team too. So, but in any case, congrats to Gino.
All right. So I think that is our show for today.
That is our show for today. Like I said, like and comment and subscribe. Comment. Hit that notification bell, and remember to listen to this pod wherever you get your podcasts. Listen to all of our podcasts. And
Available on all platforms.
yes. Log on to our website and follow our socials.
All right. I'm Bill Corpus Crispy Murphy.
Danny Boy Red signing off.
Stay safe and take care.
Peace and